Hello, peeps and creeps, and welcome to Fright Club. I'm Gav. He's not Danny. He is Adam.
Hello.
We are the Fright Club and this is a brand new episode of Monday Night Frights. On tonight's show, we're talking about David Lynch's insanely creepy, disturbing prequel to Twin Peaks. It's Fire Walk With Me. And we're back with episode 5.9 of Monday Night Frights. Tonight, being joined by Mr. Adam Neeson.
Hello.
Adam, you're coming on the show quite a bit these days, so you are.
Taking over is the word?
Well, I don't know about taking over. Like, let's not, jump ahead. Danny will have something to say about that. Danny, by the way, is unavailable tonight. He made a really bad joke about Jada Pinkett's hair, and he's shite himself at the minute. He's in hiding. So he's taking the night off tonight, but we're being joined by Mr. Adam Neeson.
You could say that he's hiding under a rock.
Oh, he is, yes. I'm just trying to think of a Will Smith joke there, but we'll get to it. I'll think of one later and edit it in. So anyway, we're here to talk about Fire Walk With Me, which is, crazy film, crazy fucking film. It is the prequel to Twin Peaks, obviously, and is directed by the great David Lynch and co-written by David Lynch and Robert Engels. Now, we got you on this episode, Adam, because we know you are a super fan of David Lynch. Is that correct?
He is my, not biological father, but spiritual.
Spiritual father. What do you mean spiritual? How does he make you feel then? Just, do you have dreams and does it just make you get through your day?
He does. Well, you know me, on a Friday.
You do? Yeah.
Got a David Lynch weather report every Friday.
Absolutely, every Friday. Fucking routinely, every Friday it happens. A master filmmaker and a filmmaker that I really have a lot of respect for. And he's definitely up there I'd say top 5, top 6 filmmakers of mine. But he would probably be your favourite?
I wouldn't say creatively my favorite, but I would say as like he makes films that I can't second guess. Like I would sit through a lot of movies in cinemas, and 20 minutes in, I'm like, oh, I know the ending.
Yes.
There's certain filmmakers like a Scorsese where even if I know the tale, their way of telling it is impressive. Lynch, on the other hand, is a guy that how we're going to even talk about Fire Walk Me is an enigma. He is someone who takes stories and makes them convoluted, but realistically, if you think about them, they're the most basic story. Like Fire Walk With Me is just the story of a troubled girl, but it's also the story of light versus dark, and also a
rapey father.
Father.
Well, possession as well, I suppose. And
possession, yeah.
There is supernatural stuff there, obviously. But no, absolutely, Lynch is, has no rules. He absolutely has no rules when it comes to filmmaking. And I think that's why he's kind of stood the test of time. He does get the plaudits, I think, that he deserves. Not in the same realm as other filmmakers, like you said, Scorsese, who's probably one of my favorite filmmakers. Scorsese and Spielberg being two of my favorite. They're more traditional filmmakers, and they can tell a story in a way that is very enjoyable to watch. Lynch's movies, this is going to sound weird, that they're not super enjoyable to watch, if you know what I mean, but they do keep you on the edge of your seat. A lot of his films are the prototypical mystery box where it's they just throw something in and you're like, where is this going and what the fuck is this? And it just mad shit happens. And with the exception of one or two that he's made over the years, Elephant Man and Straight Story and a few other wee things, normal movies that I would say that he's made over the years, but generally his whole filmography has been one fucking crazy nightmare.
Yeah.
A good nightmare, but it's just a crazy career that he's had, and I love him. I fucking love him. So anyway, I wanted to talk about this film for a while, but it was, as you said at the start there, it's kind of hard to talk about this film. It's just a weird film. So we kind of put it off for a little while, and it was just, it felt like the right time, and you felt like the right person to go on for. So we'll get cracking on then. Before we get talking, well, we talked about David Lynch there a bit, but I think it's important to point out that Mark Frost was also the co-creator of Twin Peaks. Doesn't often get mentioned in the same sentences as David Lynch, unfortunately. But he had nothing to do with this other than he was an executive producer, but I don't think he was involved with this project at all. Am I right with that?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
They had a bit of a falling out maybe creatively after the second season of Twin Peaks, and Lynch wanted to revisit the world of Twin Peaks, and Mark Frost maybe was a wee bit more reluctant to do that in a visual sense. I know he's written a book, like a story or a novel or something about the characters of Twin Peaks, so that's a shame. I never like seeing that, when two creative people who have worked so well together to create something crazy, whenever they kind of drift apart. But I don't even know how involved he was with the second season of Twin Peaks as well, because I know that was very much a thing that happened because of the network, and they wanted to expand it to, is it 20 episodes or something, season 2?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, season 1's amazing, but season 2 just goes on for way too long. And I feel like the networks definitely had their fingers in that one, and it was just a bit so
yeah.
But the writer, Robert Engels, the other writer on this film, he had written part of season 2, I believe, and he had also written Andromeda and episodes for Sequest, so he's written for TV before. I don't think he had ever written a feature film. And this is a weird film because it is this very weird structure to the storyline, and it's just a very bizarre film. It's basically a prequel to the series. And do you want to describe the plot of the
film? Yes. Okay. So
if you can, because it's maybe not the easiest plot to describe, really.
It is a movie about the final days of Laura Palmer, the girl we know who was dead, wrapped in plastic at the start of Twin Peaks. This is her downfall, kind of, in the last few days of her life, where we see she takes drugs, she goes to mad Canadian parties, and something is...
Canadian parties are always mad.
What's that all about? She notices that something isn't right with her father, and that she might be getting haunted by the possession known as Bob. And the more we go on, the more we find how everybody in the town is connected to her. And to me, it's a great prequel, because in Twin Peaks itself, you don't get to see Laura interact with many people, but the show starts with her influence on everybody, whereas this is the story of her being influenced by the town.
Yeah, that's great, and I love that you mentioned how obviously you see Laura Palmer in real life in this, whereas in the series you only see her through flashbacks and dream sequences and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think that Lynch said that he wanted to return to Twin Peaks because he was in love with the character of Laura Palmer. And strangely enough, in the series and the film as well, everybody in the town loves Laura Palmer. It's weird. It's very weird. She's got this hold on so many characters. So she has a very strange relationship with the characters of Twin Peaks. In fact, everyone in the town is in love with her. And that's one of the reasons why David Lynch wanted to return. And I think the actress that played her said that she was really eager to return because she only got to play her in the dream sequences and the flashbacks and stuff. So she really kind of wanted to give a little bit more to the character. And we do see it in the film. The film debuted in Cannes in 1992. Supposedly it got booed, although
Yeah, I've heard the stories.
there's different reports to saying that, you know, it didn't get booed. You know, there was a few people booing and blah, blah. You always hear about crowds booing at Cannes anyway. So, but I do know that David Lynch was quite disappointed with the reception of the film. It was a critical failure. It was a financial failure. But I do feel like recently, obviously Twin Peaks fans love it. And recently, I think a lot of people are starting to gravitate towards it more now, especially with the release of The Return a few years ago. People were revisiting the film and, you know, sort of looking at it differently because of that new season that came out a few years ago. But it's a strange film. The budget was 10 million and it only took 4.2 million, which, you know, was massive failures. I was trying to figure out, I knew it was a prequel, but I was trying to figure out back in the day, whenever I saw Twin Peaks, because I watched Twin Peaks when it aired live, not live, obviously, but when it aired in Ireland on UK on BBC Two. But I do remember, because there's 2 seasons, obviously. Is it 8 episodes in the first season or 9? Yeah. 8 or 9 episodes, and then there's 22 episodes or something in the second season. And I rewatched it all a few years ago, and I was kind of baffled because I had forgotten that there was so many episodes in season 2 when I was rewatching it, and I was just like, this can't be, like, I don't remember some of these episodes. I don't remember it lasting so long. And I kind of was trying to think back to my childhood, and I was thinking, hang on, when did I first see this? Because I definitely watched it when it aired on BBC Two, and obviously I was a wee nipper and didn't have a fucking clue what was going on. But that's why I loved it, because I was just like, this is crazy. To me, it was like a horror film, with mystery elements, and it was terrifying, and it still terrifies me to this day. But it actually aired in the UK in October of 91, I believe, was it? No, October of 1990. But it aired all together. So the first season aired, and then there was a break for a couple of weeks over Christmas time, New Year, sorry. And then season 2 aired in January of 91. So there wasn't the big break that you get usually between 2 seasons. So that's why my mind was playing tricks on me, because I just thought it was one big, long, continuous season. When did you first see Twin Peaks?
It probably would have been about 10 years ago. I started getting into like Lynch, and you always hear about Twin Peaks. I always remember those, like the little references and stuff. The man from the other place, you know, it's always freaky.
And the lodge and all that, yeah.
Yeah. And I watched the series, and then never really watched Fire Walk with Me until after The Return. Because I was like, prequel, I don't need it. Like, I know the story. But then after The Return aired and watching the prequel, I did find myself really loving the prequel, because watching all of Lynch's movies together, there's always something comedic about them. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of them are funny, especially the Alpha Man. No,
it's a classic comedy. Like,
no, a lot of them have, like, you know, comedic parts in them, but Fire Walk with Me is the one movie that just doesn't. You know what I mean? The only funny part is at the start with Chris Isaacs and Keith Sutherland, and, you know, Jerome doing the faces and Lynch doing the like it's wacky.
Cole.
Yeah. But then once it gets in the Laura Palmer story, there's no levity. There's nothing funny about it. And you can tell it's a director and a writer taking a character very, very serious.
Oh, absolutely, and I think that's one of the main differences between the series and this film. And I was able to sort of see that straight away. This is the first time that I had watched Fire Walk with Me from start to finish in one sitting. I have watched the whole movie, but I think I did over 2 or 3 sittings years ago. So it's the first time I'd watched it from start to finish. And man, it is a horror film. Like, it terrified me. And I think one of the most terrifying characters in the history of cinema. I don't care when anyone says it's fucking Bob. Like, he is just absolutely straight up fucking terrifying. He's creepy, disturbing, I've had nightmares about Bob before. He didn't rape me or anything, but he didn't come in through my window.
Yeah.
But his face, man, Frank Silva's face, just it's amazing. And obviously the story behind the character of Bob. You know, the myth is that he was working on set or something, and Lynch saw his reflection in a mirror and thought it was really creepy, so just decided to add him to the storyline, or decided to have him play the part of Bob. I don't know if Bob was a character before that or not. I would imagine he was, because that's such an important part of the story.
Yeah.
I just love that whole lore of the character and how that happened. And I love that Lynch allowed that to happen as well. I mean, I don't know how much truth there is to that. Maybe it's just urban legend. Maybe it's just something that's been kind of made up just to make the whole story sound even more interesting. But there's no doubt, like, Frank Silva's face is creepy, and I mean that in a good way. He's passed away, unfortunately, so I don't think he fully saw the appreciation of that character, really. But yeah, a truly disturbing character, and this is definitely scarier than the series. Although the series has scary scenes and sequences which are quite disturbing, but there's enough comedy in the series to kind of give it a good balance. You've got those silly characters like the deputy sheriff, and his name has escaped me, but there's those silly characters. And what's the girl called? The sheriff and the receptionist. I can't remember her name. Oh my god! But there's enough comedy there, and I think as well, the comedy happens because of the music that Lynch puts into the that silly sort of background music.
Yeah.
And there's a wee bit of this in the film as well, mostly, as you said at the start, with the two FBI agents, which is bizarre. Chris Isaac is playing. I mean, Lynch has a thing about having singers play parts in his films. David Bowie's in this as well, and it's happened a few times throughout his career as well, and he likes that sort of look that Chris Isaac has.
Yeah.
Which Lynch kind of still has, even as an older man now. He's still got that sort of cool look. But still, we'll talk a wee bit about the series first. Did you instantly love it, or was it something that you kind of had to rewatch to kind of fully get?
No, I instantly loved it. There's a part in, I think it's episode 2, that I think about maybe weekly, sometimes daily, is when the names are escaping me. If any Twin Peaks fans will watch this for insightful names.
I know, we're so sorry. Like, I really apologize. It's been a long day.
But Ben, who runs the lodge,
yes,
his brother comes back from France, and he says, they've got this beautiful meal in France. It's a baguette with brie cheese in it. And then for the next 5 minutes, they just keep eating it from the center, going, you've got to try this. This is an amazing meal. And from then, I was like, I get it. Like, it would be in like the Flintstones, where Fred would be like, you gotta smoke these Camel cigarettes, Bond.
Hello.
That's 100%. But it's bread and cheese. Like, it's out there.
And this magnificent meal that no one's ever tasted before.
But do you ever have a baguette with bread in it?
Oh, aye.
But the characters like Cooper and Laura Palmer and Bob and Leland, who I kind of started watching Twin Peaks because I was watching Reaper at the time, and I was like, he plays the devil right away. But all these characters have such an interesting background immediately from like the first episode. You get their character. Like, Cooper is such this ray of light, and Laura Palmer is this enigma that everybody is attached to in this mystery. And I know Lynch says that the mystery wasn't really part of the story. Like, he didn't really want to show who killed Laura Palmer because it didn't really matter. And he's right, it doesn't matter because her death affects everybody in the town so much and they grow so much. And you see in the return, like you have like Bobby, you know, he's a criminal murderer, drug dealer by the first episode, and then by the return, he's the deputy sheriff.
That's right. No, that's good. Yeah,
it's incredible character progression that he clearly thought of from the start to the end over 25 years.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Yeah, it was a show that as I said, I watched when I was a nipper when it was first on BBC Two, and there were certain scenes I had not a clue what the fuck was going on. I knew a girl died and they were investigating, and that was it. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure I missed a few episodes here and there. It wasn't something I watched religiously, but I do remember myself and my brothers watching it and not really following the story. But whenever something freaky happened, like just any of the dream sequences and any other sort of weird Red Room Lodge type things, any weird things happen, that's the things that stuck in my head for years, like literally years later. And I remember like the How's Annie scene.
Oh yeah.
Where he's smashing his head against the mirror and he looks around. I mean, that's just, I know that happens at the end, but there's loads of stuff during that just blew me away, like completely blew my mind. And I remember years later seeing it on video or DVD in a shop and being like, oh, that's that fucking show we used to watch, and thinking that nobody really knew what it was. And I suppose they did know what it was, but it wasn't something that loads of people talked about. Not with me anyway.
Yeah.
And it wasn't obviously until the internet, kicked off really that you realize that loads of other kids watch this and were like, what the fuck was this mad shit that we were watching? But I remember seeing it on DVD or video and just being like, this is mad. I have to rewatch this again. And I think since then it's just been like, wow, this is something really, really special. It's to me, it is a really one of those things that you only see once in a generation.
Yeah.
And lots of TV shows and films have tried to replicate its magic. It is a mystery box show, but there's so much more to it. The supernatural elements, all the great characters that come with it, all the one-liners, and just the setting and the look of it as well is so iconic that it's really hard to replicate that magic. And it's really stuck with me. And it's definitely up there as being one of my favorite shows.
Yeah.
Even though it is a show that I can't watch a lot, which is weird because it is just so disturbing. It's so bizarre, but that's my personal thoughts on it.
On a side note, do you feel the same way as me that stuff that was shot on film that was shown on BBC Two has like a creepy aura to it? It's a very specific thing.
Yeah,
do you ever see Only Fools and Horses, the episode? I think it's the episode of Batman and Robin.
Where the fuck is this going? Oh yes, classic.
Right,
that is class.
But at the start, there's a cut to the future where they run Trotters Independence Traders, and there's a big skyscraper that says "tit" at the top.
Yeah.
But then it cuts to inside, and they're like Wall Street, like having money. Damien's there. Rodney thinks he's the devil. But then it cuts to Uncle Albert, and he has like electrodes all over his face, and he's like, "During the war."
So they're keeping him alive, basically.
Yeah, but it's shot on film compared to like shot on the TV.
Yeah.
But for that and certain parts of Red Dwarf that were shot outside that were shot on film, to me, shown on BBC Two, I don't know why, if it's just me being a young kid watching it, but it scares the absolute fuck out of me, especially
absolutely. It's got realism to it. It's the aesthetic as well, and it's I don't know. You're right. There's something to it, and it's hard to do that nowadays. It's hard to capture that kind of sense of uneasiness about just how something looks. And obviously, you see a lot of things now that are trying to replicate the 80s and 90s, early 90s kind of aesthetic of how something looks, and they do a good job. But you still know it's not real, you know. But 100% you're right, man. And I think as well, one of the reasons why Twin Peaks was so good was the town of Twin Peaks. That idea of a small town that everybody knows everyone. You know, I've always loved that kind of. It's not folk horror, but you know, it's got that kind of like everyone knows everybody, and everyone has a history with everybody else, and you know, this person's parents knew this person's parents, and you know, there's a real history to the town, and it feels real and tangible when you watch Twin Peaks. And also, we'll get into it a little bit later, but the intro, like, there's still never been an intro that has beaten this for me in terms of just capturing a mood and making me feel like every time I hear that music, I get tingles, and I just instantly see the road. I see the pine tree, you know, the trees. I see the sign. I see the little, it's a robin, isn't it? Robin redbreast. And I see the factory, and you know, it's just there in my head. And you know, it's not easy to do that, but it's still there in my head. Fucking how many years later? I don't know how many years it's been. 30 odd years, 35 years, is it something? 91, 90 it was out. So, fuck me, 32 years. That's crazy.
I like to think, though, you're saying small town. I'd like to see Twin Peaks, but based in Ballymena.
Oh Jesus! What would we call it? Fucking based in Ballymena. I don't know. Nah, I wouldn't even want to think about that, to be honest with
you. That's a nice cup of coffee.
Oh Jesus, boy! That's exactly what it would be. It wouldn't be a factory; it would be an orange hall, or something like that. You know, it wouldn't be. You know, everyone works in the factory that's been there for fucking years and years and years. But it would be something that would be. No, actually, it would be. Well, Michelin's gone now. Actually, there was a factory, like an old fucking linen factory or something, down at the Braidwater in Ballybena, which probably had that same aesthetic and feel about it as the factory from Twin Peaks, but it's been gone years, like. But anyway, let's talk about the film. We're here to talk about Fire Walk with Me. It's a strange film. We've mentioned that it's mad, very creepy, disturbing. It's essentially the story, as you mentioned, of the last 7 days of Laura Palmer before she is murdered and found on the beach in the plastic rags, which is, again, iconic imagery. But we start off initially with, before this happens, with two other FBI agents. Chester Desmond?
Yes.
It's played by Chris Isaac, and Kiefer Sutherland plays fucking, I have no idea what his fucking name is. I should have written it down, and I apologise to Kiefer Sutherland because I love him. Go ahead.
I'll chip in. There's actually a very important shot right at the start of the movie. It's someone destroying a TV, which, of course, is Lynch's little nod to this isn't TV anymore. This is the big screen.
It is. See, themes, you know. It's not all mad shit. There's some extra meaning here. But I also love that the opening credits. I love the static of the TV. I just love old TVs. So anything to do with, you know, old TVs gets me every time. So somebody breaks the TV, we hear a scream, and then we see the body of somebody floating up the river, but it's not Laura Palmer. Who is it? It's Teresa Banks. Who is this girl, Teresa Banks, huh? So she starts the film by being the first victim, essentially, and these other two FBI agents are now investigating her murder. They're employed by good old Gordon Cole, who's classic character played by Lynch himself. Mental, no idea why he shouts. No idea why Lynch just decided, oh, I'm going to play this character, but he's always going to shout. He's always going to have a piece in his ear. He's, you know, just a very bizarre character, but lovable because we love Lynch. So they're employed to investigate the murder of this girl. Now, initially, it was supposed to be Dale Cooper in the original script, but Kyle MacLachlan was hesitant to return to the character after the second season. In my research for this, research. In my loose research, I did see like a common thread between some of the actors from Twin Peaks in that they were hesitant to return because they were unhappy with how season 2 ended up. We spoke briefly about it at the start, how the network may have meddled in how that happened. But I think Kyle MacLachlan was unhappy to return, but obviously he got his arm twisted. And it's weird to read that now because after the return, like he loves the character of Dale Cooper. He clearly does love the character of Dale Cooper, and he loves David Lynch because he's worked with him before. But he only wanted a small part in this film, so they had to rewrite the script so that Dale Cooper would only appear at the end of this segment, leading into the start of the second segment. It's not segments, they do link together, but it does feel separate. It's a weird structure. The first, 20 minutes maybe, we stay with these two FBI agents. We get some clues about obviously what's going to happen later on, and then we get that scene that you said about the girl. What was her name? Who was it? Lil,
yes.
Who's in a red dress. I thought this was fucking genius. Just genius. It's a girl in a red dress who, like, she's almost like a mime artist. She doesn't speak. She just does things with her face and does things with her hands, and the way she moves gives clues to Chris Isaac's character. I'm just going to say Chris Isaac because I'm going to forget his name throughout this. And I just love that thing where he was sort of telling Keith Sutherland's character that she was giving cryptic messages. I thought it was really clever.
Yeah.
But anyway, we move on and we eventually get to Dale Cooper. I've skipped ahead there a wee bit. Have I missed anything that's important to say? I'll always say, yes, the ring. The ring's important. Ring, and the connections with Laura's death as well.
And going to the anti-Twin Peaks, is it Deer Hills?
Oh, yes. Deer something.
The sheriff's station is just not very nice.
No.
They're the complete opposite of Twin Peaks. The Hayden Stanton in the trailer park.
That's right, yes, of course.
Is just, doesn't want to be there.
No, he doesn't like being waking up before 9 a.m.
Yeah.
He's got that written all over his fucking trailer. Love Harry Dean Stanton.
Yeah, incredible.
There's a thing with the ring, and Desmond finds the ring, and then he disappears, and so Dale Cooper is now then introduced, and we see him first in the police station when he's telling Cole about his dream that he had, which obviously is important to the story as well. And then we get the David Bowie sequence, which is fucking mental. Just crazy, where Dale keeps looking at himself in the security camera, and the last time that he comes in, the security camera still keeps his image, and then you see David Bowie's character then coming behind him. Yeah, Jeffrey's coming behind him. What do you think of David Bowie in this? Are you a fan of his character or performance?
Yeah, I think it's fun. There's a lot of stuff in the missing pieces, like more stuff with Bowie. That's fun, but it is weird to think that he was on the investigation with Teresa. Like that was his Laura. And then the next time we see Bowie in the return, he is a teapot.
Obviously.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, why does that shock you? Like, that's natural progression of a character development. Fuck's sake. Mental. Cooper explains the dream, and then we get lots of weird images from, we see the man from another place. That's the first time we see him in this film. What a character he is. Like, he haunted my fucking dreams for years.
Yeah.
Fantastic performance from Michael J. Anderson. And obviously the Red Room, the lodge, all those kind of, the floor, just the curtains, the red curtains, absolutely iconic. A couple of other characters. We see, who do we see? We see that your man with a mask.
Yeah, there's the kid with, well, there's the black guy with the mask that is like a
Yes.
white face with a
Big nose.
low nose on the eyes. Then there's a kid who is clearly meant to be a young David Lynch. He's the suit and the hair,
Mm-hmm.
and he's got the white face with just the nose. There's a grandmother. There is two of the guys from the Return, the Got a Light guys.
Oh yes, yes, yes. Is that your man with the eye with a beard?
Yeah, there's two of them. Yeah, the two
Right,
woodsmen.
cool. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Because it's taking place in the gas station, the upstairs of the gas station from the Return.
So anyway, yeah, we see a lot of really weird characters, and that's the first time you kind of are like, right, here we go. This is kicking off. Here we go. We're going to get some weird shit here, and then it kind of cuts, doesn't it? It cuts basically to after Dale Cooper had started looking for Desmond. It then cuts to the second major segment of the film, which is most of the film. The last 7 days of Laura Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Leyland a little bit earlier about being the devil in The Reaper.
Uh-huh.
He's pretty much the devil in this too. Obviously, Leyland Palmer, he's a normal human being, the father of Laura, but he is possessed by Bob. And Ray Wise has always been a character. He's got a great face. You know, I remember him from RoboCop as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just got this amazing face. He can do really creepy facials. He can sort of change from being like really angry to crying.
Yeah.
You were being a dirty bastard there when I said facials. But anyway, so he's a great actor, like, and fuck, he's so good in this. And we see him in that dream sequence as well. But we start to see some characters that we're familiar with. So we see Leyland, we see Shelley as well from the diner. Once we go back to Twin Peaks, who else we see? Like Harold,
Big Ed, Bobby.
Obviously Bobby, yeah. Donna, although Donna's played by a different actress.
Yeah.
She's played by Moira Kelly in this. We then go, so we're following Laura, and we know her. We kind of know most of her backstory from the TV show, if you've seen the TV show. By the way, don't watch this unless you've seen the TV show. You know, there's no way you'd be able to follow any of this mad shit if you are not aware of the story from the TV show. So definitely watch this after you've watched the TV show. But we know Laura has a backstory, and we know she's not the innocent girl that everyone would like to believe that she is. We know that she had issues with drugs, and we know that she was, involved in various relationships with people at her school, but also some of the older people in the community. And we know we sort of know that she was a sex worker from the series, don't we? That was confirmed, yeah.
She, I can't remember the strip club, Jack.
One-Eye Jacks?
One-Eye Jacks, thank you, yeah. Which was always a bit, in the show, it's, it's a strip club. Like, it's not really like, but it's a whorehouse.
Yeah, and we see it in full flow in this one. And I question whether we needed to see it. There's a few things I would question about the film in terms of what do we actually need to see, because in trying to show her downfall, it does show you stuff that we really don't need to see. I don't think personally, anyway. We already know certain things that happened, and I just don't know if it was necessary. I actually don't know if the whole film was necessary, but I understand why it was made. It was made because Lynch loves the character and the story, and he's very passionate about Twin Peaks. So, you can't say anything bad about that. But would you agree? Like, do you think we needed to see the backstory of Laura?
At the time of release, I would have said no, but after watching The Return, I would say yes, because it's insinuated that Laura is the antithesis of good, and Bob is the antithesis of bad.
Mhm.
And having Laura go through such a terrible, terrible time, it's taken someone that's pure and twisted them to the point of they're able to accept death. Towards the end of this movie, terrible stuff is happening to her, but
Yeah.
she's able to save Donna. She's able to save Donna, and let her get away by sacrificing her own life, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I say, whenever the movie came out, I can understand the anger. Not even from like Twin Peaks fans, but like people that can, because it's a very hard movie to watch. There's a lot of rape scenes in it. There's uncomfortable situations with incest. Even if you're epileptic, like I'm epileptic, and this is a tough movie for me to watch. I just have to go like this at some points. It's uncomfortable, and it's meant to be uncomfortable, but I suppose that's art at the end of the day. You know what I mean? It's not for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I would never ever say that you should censor your art. Like, uncomfortable things should be seen, because that's the whole point. I don't know. I'm on the fence a little bit. Maybe if I watch it a few more times, or maybe if I watch The Return, finish The Return, and then come back to this, I might see a little bit differently. But I just kind of feel like the character, we didn't need to see her actually go through some of the horrible scenes, because there is quite a few horrible scenes. Like, she gets raped a few times in this.
Yeah.
And she gets raped by her father. Well, Bob. But her, Bob was inside. Bob was inside her father. So I suppose her father is also.
Is it a Russian doll situation?
Could be. Could be. But obviously her father is a tragic character as well, because he was possessed. Essentially, he was basically possessed by this entity known as Bob, who is just there to destroy and to create evil and to do the devil's work, I suppose, without getting religious about it. But it's horrible to see, because I think Laura is a nice character in a way that, well, they certainly portrayed her as being a nice girl. Everyone loves her. Everybody in school loves her in the town. She's beautiful, blonde. All the girls want to be her. All the boys want to be with her. And obviously that was the whole point. They built her up to being this kind of angelic figure, and then we realize that she's actually, she likes to do a lot of drugs, and she's involved in all this dark stuff, and she works at the whorehouse, basically. She's essentially a fucking prostitute.
Yeah.
And that scene especially, because I had forgotten that we saw that. I remember there being scenes at a club and stuff, but I'd forgotten that she gets naked and stuff, and she's like being fondled, and it was just weird to watch. And also Donna is there as well, and that's the sort of scene that, well, that's the start of whenever you said earlier about how she sacrifices herself in the end, but that's the kind of first moment that we see that whenever she goes to help Donna, and I mean, Donna's lying on the table with her ditties out, some guy sucking on them, and because she wants to be Laura, essentially.
Yeah.
So she's happy just to do whatever Laura's doing, but Laura doesn't want her to be her, because Laura knows that she's got a darkness in her and stuff. So it is interesting, but I just think maybe some of those scenes were, they are hard to watch, especially the scene in the bedroom later on.
Yeah.
When Bob crawls through the window and he essentially rapes her. And then we see that it's Leyland raping her, which is really uncomfortable to watch. It's interesting, whenever we first hear Laura mention Bob's name is when she's talking to your guy Harold, who's the guy that's
Home Alone 3, of course.
Is that who that is?
Yeah.
I recognize his face. I was like, why do I recognize this guy's face? Obviously he's in the series as well, but I knew that I knew him from something else. But he has Laura's diary in the TV show, isn't that right?
Yeah.
That's how he comes into the story. And they're friends, but they're also lovers. And she tells him about Bob, but she says that he's been coming in through her window since she was 12, which is just fucking creepy, because that essentially means that her father's been raping her since she was 12 years old, which is fucking horrible.
Yeah.
We see Bob quite a bit in this. There's a scene where she goes into the house. I think it's shortly after this, and she's creeping up the stairs and in through her bedroom and stuff. And it's shot really well. You know, it's like a sort of handheld POV type thing. It sort of cuts between POV, and we see Bob hiding behind like the dresser.
Yeah.
And he's doing that typical Bob, you know, the face that he does, the Bob face. And I swear to God, man, like I fucking shit myself. He genuinely scares the shit out of me. And I think it must be the denim as well. It's the long hair, it's the grey hair, and the denim jacket that he wears. It's like dirty.
Doesn't he double denim as well?
It's double denim. That's what it is. You're right. It is fucking terrifying. But yeah, so we see that how he starts to come into her life and stuff, and it's hard to watch. But I do like even though I've said that I hate all the scenes where she gets raped and stuff, I actually do like the scene in the house. What's it called? The Roadhouse.
The Roadhouse, yeah.
The whorehouse type thing, because I love the red lighting, and I love that it's in subtitles as well, because there's music playing, so you can just about hear them, but you can't really understand what they're saying, so it's all subtitled. I just think that's a really cool thing that he had it. There's a creepy guy in there. He grabs them both and he says, "My high school sandwich. Let's put some meat inside." And I was just like, "Fuck off! I'm turning this off. Like, this is just too creepy." But there's quite a few one-liners in that scene. That's very, very creepy. But I did love the red lighting, and I loved how it was shot and everything. And then there's a lovely shot afterwards, whenever the night's over, and it just pans across the dance floor, and you see lots of bottles of beer, and there's literally about 500 cigarette stubs. And I just love the slow pan across the dance floor. Talking about different shots and different scenes now in the film, is there any that sort of stand out in your head that you always kind of think back, wow, that was an amazing scene or an amazing shot?
I think Lynch's use of flashing lights and electricity is always interesting. There's the theory that, you know, evil travels through static electricity in Lynch's world, because of the influence of television and such. The flickering lights are the flickering lights of static that we see at the start of the movie. It's an interesting theory, and it's the type of shit that Lynch would try to explain to a room of people. It's flashing lights, evil. But it is aesthetically pleasing as well, and it does weirdly make things scarier. Where like the flashing lights between Bob and Leland during like the rape scene, just the flashing lights of their faces changing, and especially Ray Wise with such a big head, but he has like this weird divot on top of his forehead that when you shine a light just on his face, he's terrifying. He is obviously, he played the devil in Reaper, and he's perfect for that. And here he is in the light of day, such a nice man, such a man that you would think is a lovely father. You think Laura's mom would be the evil one, because she's got a face like a sorbet. Can't remember the actress' name, but
she's fucking creepy, man. I remember in the TV show there was a scene where she sees Bob at the end of the bed. Is that right?
Yes, and she screams.
And that, man, I can't watch it. Like, it's fucking killed me. I just remember her from that show now. So every time I see her in anything, I think she was in like Child's Play 2, which was obviously out before Twin Peaks. But I watched Child's Play 2 recently, and I've seen it loads of times. But I watched it recently and was like, oh fuck, there's Laura Palmer's ma. Fuck. Hope she gets killed because she freaked me out, man. But no, sorry to interrupt you. Continue.
I remember seeing her in Seinfeld. She plays somebody's man, Seinfeld, and I was like, oh no.
I know she's got a weird face. I don't mean that in a bad way, but she's just creepy. It's clearly from Twin Peaks. It's still stained my brain.
And in The Return, like no spoilers, she plays the mother that's lost her daughter very well. To the point that something supernatural might be going on with her. I'll just say that.
Okay.
My little endorsement for The Return is great soundtrack. Jim Belushi is actually a really good actor. Episode 8, Mental. Whenever you go to the Roadhouse and it says, ladies and gentlemen, 9 Inch Nails, and then 9 Inch Nails come on. It's like
actually the band.
Yeah.
That was class that that was a theme throughout the whole series, was that they got actual bands on to play the Roadhouse, which is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Chris Isaac plays, doesn't he?
Chris Isaac plays, that's right. CC Top play.
Wow, amazing.
There is a lot of stuff in The Return, or now that I'm all excited for The Return. Fire Walk with Me. There's the when she's talking to the psychiatrist guy from Home 3, and she says "Fire Walk with Me," but it's that quick shot of her with like a white face and black.
Oh fuck!
It's really scary.
That's brutal, man. Black lips and all. Oh. And then Leyland as well later on. He appears.
Yes, later on, yeah. He's terrifying.
Near the end, isn't it? In the sort of finale.
There's the shot of the young kid that looks like Lynch and the old granny holding hands, like in the street.
Yeah. That's whenever they first approach the diner that Laura works in.
Yeah.
And she's like, I can't start my shift, so I have to go. And then they're walking off slowly together. It's really creepy.
And then there's the last shot of the film. I know we're not there yet, but the angel coming down with the light, and it's reminiscent of a shot previously in the movie where Laura's on staircase looking up at the revolving fan. She just has this weird, like, gone look in her face, with just her like crazy smiling.
Yeah, that happens at the end of the movie. So we spoke about how the movie's divided into segments. The first one's about the 2 FBI agents. Most of the movie's about Laura Palmer, and then the end happens at the lodge, in the room where we see Bob and Leyland kind of hovering together, and they're sort of becoming, one, I suppose. That's her accepting her death, essentially, isn't it?
Pretty much.
That's a beautiful shot. And just to get back to the sort of lightning blue lights, because we know we love a blue hue.
A blue hue.
David Lynch loves his blue hues, and we see it quite a bit through his career, but even quite a bit in this film. And I definitely made the connection with evil and blue light, because there's quite a lot of times whenever Bob is introduced into a scene where we see blue light shining on Laura's face of some kind. In the rape scene in the bedroom, she lies back and there's a lot of blue light shining on her face. And then actually later on, near the end of the film as well, I wonder, is it in that epilogue scene or is it before the finale? I think it's in the epilogue scene, and it may be because she knows she's dead, but she's sitting back in the chair and there's a blue light on her face as well. So there's definitely a connection between the colour blue and the evil of Bob. Maybe it's back to the denim. It's because he's wearing double denim. So it's just, he's wearing so much denim that the blue is just like shining out.
Of him.
Yep, into the faces. One of the things I also wanted to mention, we did mention about it, was the white face and the black lips. Again, that fucking, I don't know why it's so terrifying, but it's really creepy. And I think as well, Cheryl Lee, who plays Laura Palmer, she's amazing at screaming. Like, she does it a lot throughout the show, and she does it in The Return as well.
Yeah.
And she does it in this, and she's just got that face where she, especially when Lynch goes really up close to her. And I think there was a clip released recently where I think it was from The Return, where Lynch has just got a wee tiny camera and he's literally right in her face, and she's just screaming, and he's just like, "Come on, keep going," and he's just doing this here around her face. Like, I would just love to be a fly on the wall in one of those sets and just watching David Lynch film, because he always seems to have like a pretty good bond with most of his cast, and especially Cheryl Lee.
Have you ever seen Lynch asking for a stick of styrofoam on set?
What? No, don't think so.
He's like, "Can I get a big thing of styrofoam and a knife?" Right? He's whittling away, goes on for ages. There's a big group of people around him, whittling away. This big long bowl, and he goes, "I made a dildo."
What?
Yeah, I swear to God.
On set while he's supposed to be working? Or
yeah.
Wow, I have not seen that, but you'll have to send me that clip if you've still got it. And was he going to use this dildo, or was it just there for show? Or
I think he was just messing about.
Jesus Christ, what a legend! That man's such a legend. I love the segment where Laura gets the painting from the old lady. In fact, isn't it? It's the old lady, isn't it?
Yeah.
And she hangs it in the room, and then we sort of go inside the painting, and it's the painting of the door of the lodge, and the old lady's welcoming her in, and it's so creepy. It's just so creepy. But I still think that it kind of explains too much. I know there's so many more questions. I do think that we get a wee bit more. We talked about it being definitely more of a horror film. We get a decent gory scene as well whenever Bobby shoots your man in the head.
Yeah.
Which obviously they couldn't really show that kind of stuff on TV, so Lynch must have just been like, "Fuck it, let's just show a big, like it's a proper skull opened up and stuff." And I thought it was really cool. To be fair. You're a massive fan of the film. I do enjoy it. I love Lynch. I love Twin Peaks. I love the characters. I love everything about it. But it's not a film that I could rewatch many times. I probably will revisit it after I watch The Return.
Yeah.
Just to sort of, do the whole cycle. It's definitely a horror film. It's not an enjoyable film to watch because I did get upset about some of the scenes. But and I'm just going to reiterate, I don't know if it was fully necessary. But I'm glad it's there, and I'm glad that Lynch got to make it, and I'm glad that people are embracing it a bit more now after The Return was released. And I just want David Lynch to be happy. We all just want Lynch to be happy. He's just like, I just want to give him a big hug.
Yeah, there was that video of him making Inland Empire when he's like, just so fucking depressed.
Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah.
Again, it's a film, I watched it once, man, and I was very excited actually when it came out, because I went through a wee period of being like super Lynch fan, just when I was smoking a lot of weed, as you do. And having been a fan of Twin Peaks when I was young, I bought Blue Velvet, I bought Lost Highway, and just spent days watching those films and breaking them down. And I was trying to get into screenwriting at the time as well, so this was when I first started writing stuff, so I was really into Lynch. And I remember being excited for Inland Empire when it came out because Laura Dern's in it. I was like, oh, this is going to be amazing, and I didn't enjoy it. Like, it was, I don't know if it went too far in places. I don't know, but I just didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would, and I haven't actually ever rewatched it. I'm going to put you in the spot since we're talking about Lynch. I don't know if you have any sort of ranking or anything, but what would you go with? Let's just go top three. Films. Top three films.
Top three films. I'll say Wild at Heart is probably my favorite.
Wow.
I love Nicolas Cage and Laura Dern in it together, and Defoe with his creepy teeth. Number two, I would probably say Mulholland Drive. I know it's his most popular, but there's just so many scenes in it that are great. I love the scene of in the theater when the girl's singing and then the music continues, which is not singing anymore; it's just collapsed. That theater recently, by the way, has been turned into an Apple store, which is depressing.
Oh fuck.
And then number three would probably be a match between don't know. Fire Walk with Me and Blue Velvet.
Wow, okay. Good.
Inland Empire is a bit too much for me. It is very much, these are a lot of skits that he made and then pieced together. Even though I do enjoy it, it's not one I put on to be like filmmaking. Because the whole like rabbits stuff and people dancing.
It looks nice, like there's some nice aesthetics to it. And the rabbit scene is bizarre. But yeah, you're right, it's just I didn't enjoy it too much.
I love Eraserhead, obviously. T-shirt.
Yes, there he is.
And I love Elfman. And we don't talk about Dune, but
enough or
not at all.
At all, just completely delete that from his library.
Not for me. Don't need to see main singer from Police.
Sting.
Don't need to see Sting's fee, you know. But Blue Velvet, you know, to me has some great performances. It doesn't hold up really together for me. I don't know. I think it's because I'm so used to seeing Kyle MacLachlan as Cooper that when I see him in Blue Velvet, I'm kind of like, I just want him to be that nice guy again.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think Blue Velvet's probably my favorite. I'd probably go Blue Velvet, Mulholland Drive, Lost Highway, which is maybe a bit of a boring top three, but I don't care. Fuck you, it's my list. But Blue Velvet, just because it's just classic. Like, it just looks amazing.
Ditties.
Bit of ditties. I love the intro to Blue Velvet. You know, the white picket fence with the roses. It's iconic. And I love that the song plays over the top, and you know, Frank's a crazy character.
Yeah.
I love Lost Highway as well. I actually need to rewatch Mulholland Drive. I've seen it a number of times, but I need to rewatch it again. I feel like that'll probably move up my list the more I rewatch it. I just love Lost Highway because of creepy cameraman guy.
Yeah.
Who incidentally is a murderer in real life, but yeah, he is. Yeah, I think he murdered his wife.
Oh,
somebody, something. I didn't find out till quite a few years after the film came out. But there's something about him being a murderer in real life which is creepy, or he's definitely a criminal.
Fair.
But I mean, that scene is iconic where he's got the camera and he's, you know. But I think that's all the time we have for this week, talking about David Lynch and Fire Walk with Me, because I'm going to have nightmares tonight if we keep talking any more about Lynch. Before we go, you did mention very briefly about Missing Pieces. Yes. Now, this was released on the special edition DVD box set, and it was a collection of deleted scenes from the film Fire Walk with Me. I did read that there was a lot of scenes cut, and there was a lot of characters that came back that just doesn't appear in the film at all.
Yeah.
I've never seen it. Have you watched it?
I have. It's like an hour and 20 minutes of deleted scenes.
Is it more just the scenes put together, or is it put in some sort of order to kind of look like a film or anything, or is it just random scenes put together?
There is kind of a structure to it. It's they play it like little vignettes, of all the stuff together. It's worth a watch. There's nothing that interested in it. There's some stuff that could have went back in. There's more stuff with Bowie. There's a lot of comedic moments as well. I think like they took it out because of the tone. And then just if you want to see old characters from the show again, it's an interesting watch. But,
yeah, I think that's another thing that Lynch does really well is that he creates amazing characters. Like nearly every character in the TV show is memorable.
Yeah.
To some extent, you know, some are really horrible characters. Like Bobby in the TV shows are like I hated him. But as you said, he's got an arc. So in the return, he's the sheriff.
Yeah.
And like your man James from the original show is just he's just a drip, isn't he? Nobody likes him. But then you look at characters like even small characters like the log lady, and you know the giant in season 2 as well. You know, these are characters that stick with you, and he's really good at creating the characters. So I was expecting to see more characters from the TV show in this. So obviously I'll have to revisit the missing pieces. I've never watched it, but I would like to see some of the characters from the original TV show. Maybe they didn't fit the tone comedy wise. He didn't obviously want a lot of comedy in this film, so he wanted to keep it more of a straight horror film. So
yeah,
it probably worked out better that way. But anyway, we're going to leave it at that. Before we head off, do you want to promote your pages and stuff?
Adam Neeson on Twitter and Instagram, and Mr. Adam Neeson on YouTube. Not much goes up. I start filming Lazarus Syndrome properly next week.
Brilliant.
Going over to England to film.
Right, really? Class.
On
location.
On
you
location.
Must have a budget.
No.
Your airplane ticket.
People are doing me a lot of favors.
But yes, go and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. It's at the Fright Club NI, and follow us or check the website out, www.thefrightclubni.com, and subscribe to the YouTube, obviously, and hit the bell icon and leave some comments about Fire Walk With Me. Was it scary? Did it disturb you? Do you still have nightmares about it? Are you a fan? Do you think it was necessary or not? Is it something you'll never watch again? Please let us know in the comments. And we will be back in another 2 weeks with another Monday Night Frights. Danny maybe will come out of hiding. We'll see. Thanks for coming on the show, Adam.
Thanks,
all the best with filming the Lazarus Syndrome.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll get some exclusive shots from the set.
Oh.
Maybe we will, maybe we won't.
BTS.
But, I know. We're in the know. We have connections. But yes, all the best with that. And as always, you know, stay safe, take care. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.